The space station hung like a silver crown in the darkness between stars. Commander Kang Do-hyun stood at the window of the shuttle, watching it grow larger as they approached. He had seen many things in his 32 years of life, but nothing quite like this. The Valari Empire had built this station to show their power, and it worked. He felt very small. "Sir, we dock in 10 minutes, said the pilot. Do-hyun nodded but did not turn away from the window. Today was the most important day in human history. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. In that short time, they had learned a hard truth. The universe was old, and humanity was very young. Dozens of species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. The Valari Empire was the oldest and most powerful of them all. Now Earth needed friends. The Dominion of Ashk was expanding, swallowing smaller species and destroying anyone who resisted. Humanity could not survive alone, so they had come here, to this station, to ask the Valari for an alliance. Do-hyun knew what the Valari thought of humans. He had read the reports. To them, humans were primitive, weak, barely worth noticing. But Do-hyun also knew that humanity had no other choice. They would smile, they would bow, and they would do whatever was necessary to protect their home. The shuttle docked with a soft sound. Do-hyun straightened his uniform and walked to the airlock. When the doors opened, he stepped into a world of silver and light. The Valari were waiting for him. They were tall. That was the first thing Do-hyun noticed. The shortest of them was at least 2 meters, and some were even taller. Their skin was silver gray, smooth like polished metal. Their eyes were large and completely black, showing no emotion. They wore robes of deep purple and blue, decorated with symbols Do-hyun did not understand. At the center of the group stood an old Valari with a crown of crystal on his head. This was High Counselor Tarn, the voice of the Emperor himself. Behind him stood warriors in armor that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. "Commander Kang Do-hyun of Earth," said Tarn. His voice was cold and flat. "You have traveled far." Do-hyun bowed deeply. "High Counselor, on behalf of Earth and all humanity, I thank you for this meeting." Tarn did not bow back. He simply stared at Do-hyun with those black eyes for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away. "Follow," he said. The negotiations lasted 3 days. Do-hyun sat in a chamber of white stone, while Valari officials talked at him, not with him. They spoke of humanity as if discussing insects. Interesting, perhaps, worthy of study, but certainly not equals. Still, Do-hyun kept his face calm. He answered every question with respect. He made his case for alliance again and again. Humanity was young, yes, but they learned quickly. They were brave. They would be good allies. On the 3rd day, the High Counselor finally spoke of terms. "An alliance requires trust," said Tarn. "Among our people, we seal such agreements with an exchange. Each side gives a warrior to the other. This warrior serves as proof of good faith. They fight beside their new allies. They share knowledge and strength." Do-hyun nodded. This was common among many species, he knew. Earth accepts this condition. "We have prepared our finest soldier." "That will not be necessary today," Tarn interrupted. "First, you will receive our gift to you." There was something in his voice that Do-hyun did not like, a hint of amusement. Around the chamber, other Valari officials shifted in their seats. Some of them were smiling. A door opened at the far end of the room. 2 guards walked in, and between them was a young Valari woman. She was different from the others, smaller. Where most Valari stood over 2 meters tall, she was barely taller than Do-hyun himself. Her skin was not silver gray but pale violet, like a bruise. Her hair was long and silver white, falling past her shoulders. She wore simple gray clothes, not the fine robes of the others, but it was her eyes that caught Do-hyun's attention. They were not completely black like the others. They had flecks of gold in them, like distant stars. And in those eyes, he saw something he recognized: pain, loneliness, pride that refused to break even when everything tried to break it. "This is Princess Yura of the Third Moon," said Tarn. His voice dripped with false sweetness. "The youngest daughter of our great emperor. She will be your warrior." Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Valari officials did not try to hide their amusement. Some whispered to each other, and Do-hyun did not need to understand their language to know they were mocking her. He looked at Yura. She stood perfectly still, her face showing nothing. But he saw her hands, held at her sides. They were shaking slightly. "Is something funny?" Do-hyun asked. His voice cut through the laughter. The room went quiet. Tarn's smile faded just a little. "I do not understand your question, Commander. Your people are laughing. I am asking why." Tarn spread his hands. "Perhaps they are simply pleased that our two peoples will be united through such a special representative." More quiet laughter. Yura's jaw tightened, but she did not move. Do-hyun understood now. This was a joke to them. They were sending this young woman because they considered her worthless, weak, an embarrassment to their empire. By giving her to the humans, they were making an insult look like a gift. He had two choices. He could refuse and demand a different warrior. This would be seen as weakness, and the alliance would likely fail. Or he could accept their insult and let them laugh. Do-hyun chose a third option. He walked forward, past the guards, until he stood directly in front of Princess Yura. She looked up at him with those golden-flecked eyes, waiting for more mockery. Waiting for rejection. Instead, Do-hyun bowed. Not a small bow, but a deep one. The kind of bow he would give to a respected leader. "Princess Yura," he said clearly, so everyone in the chamber could hear. "I am honored to welcome you aboard my ship. Your presence will strengthen us." The laughter stopped completely. The silence was heavy. Tarn's face twisted with something like confusion. Yura stared at Do-hyun. In her entire life, no one had ever bowed to her. No one had ever spoken to her with respect. She did not know what to say. "Thank you," she finally whispered. Do-hyun straightened and turned to face the High Counselor. "Earth accepts the Emperor's generous gift. We will treat Princess Yura with all the honor she deserves as a representative of the Valari Empire." Tarn's eyes narrowed. This was not how things were supposed to go. But he could not argue without admitting that Yura was meant as an insult. "Very well," he said coldly. "The agreement is made." That evening, Do-hyun walked beside Yura as they returned to his shuttle. She had not spoken since the ceremony. Her face was still blank, guarded. "They expected me to reject you," Do-hyun said quietly. Yura nodded slightly. "Yes. Why do they treat you this way?" For a long moment, she did not answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I was born wrong. Too small. No telepathy. My father says, I am proof that even the greatest bloodline can produce failure." Do-hyun stopped walking. Yura stopped too, looking at him with confusion. "Princess," he said, "I do not know what makes a good Valari. But I know what makes a good ally. And I think your people have made a mistake about you." Yura's eyes widened. No one had ever said such a thing to her before. "Welcome to humanity," Do-hyun said, and he meant it. The human ship was called Horizon's Edge. It was smaller than Yura had expected. Valari warships were massive, built to terrify enemies before a single shot was fired. This vessel was compact and practical, designed for speed and survival rather than intimidation. Yura stood in the docking bay, watching human crew members move around her. They carried boxes, checked equipment, and talked to each other with easy smiles. No one seemed afraid of her. No one seemed disgusted by her presence. They simply nodded politely and continued their work. This confused her deeply. "Princess Yura?" A young woman approached her. She had short black hair and warm brown eyes. She wore a white uniform with medical symbols on the shoulders. "I am Lieutenant Park Ji-woo. I am the ship's doctor. Commander Kang asked me to show you to your quarters." Quote, Yura nodded stiffly. She expected Ji-woo to walk ahead and make her follow like a servant. Instead, Ji-woo walked beside her, matching her pace The ship might seem small compared to Valari vessels, Jiwoo said cheerfully. But we have everything we need. Good food, comfortable beds, and the best view of the stars you will ever see. I do not require luxury, Yura said. Her voice was flat, practiced. A storage room will be sufficient, Jiwoo laughed. Not a cruel laugh, but a genuine one of surprise. A storage room? Princess, your quarters are on the officer deck, right next to Commander Kang's. Yura stopped walking. That cannot be correct. It is correct, the commander insisted. Jiwoo smiled at her. You are not a prisoner here, princess. You are a guest and an ally. They continued through the ship. Jiwoo pointed out different areas: the medical bay where she worked, the mess hall where everyone ate together, the recreation room where crew members played games and watched entertainment from Earth. Yura listened but said little. She was waiting for the trick. Waiting for the moment when these humans would reveal their true feelings. They would mock her eventually. Everyone did. Her quarters surprised her again. The room was simple, but comfortable. A proper bed with soft blankets, a desk with a computer terminal, a window that showed the stars outside. There were even flowers in a small vase. Purple flowers that reminded her of home. I hope this is acceptable, Jiwoo said. If you need anything different, please tell me. Yura looked at the flowers. Who put these here? Engineer Nam Taeho. He heard that Valari appreciate natural beauty, so he grew them in our small garden. He wanted you to feel welcome. Something strange happened in Yura's chest. A tightness she did not understand. Thank you. Jiwoo smiled again and left her alone. Yura sat on the bed and stared at the flowers for a long time. The next few days were strange and uncomfortable. Yura stayed in her quarters as much as possible. She did not know how to behave around these humans. On Valari ships, everyone had a strict role. Superiors commanded. Inferiors obeyed. Failures like her stayed invisible and silent. But the humans kept trying to include her. Nam Taeho, the engineer who had grown the flowers, invited her to see the engine room. He was a tall man, with messy hair and oil stains on his uniform. He spoke excitedly about the ship's systems, explaining how everything worked. He did not seem to notice or care that Yura was alien royalty. He treated her like a friend. This is the heart of the ship, Taeho said, patting a large machine. She is not the newest or the fastest, but she has never let us down. I call her grandmother. You name your machines? Yura asked. Of course, everything important deserves a name. He grinned at her. What would you call her? Yura studied the engine. It hummed with quiet power, keeping everyone on the ship alive. Faithful, she said finally. I would call her Faithful. Taeho's face lit up. That is perfect, princess. You understand machines better than most humans. Yura felt that strange tightness in her chest again. On the fourth day, she forced herself to eat in the mess hall, instead of taking food to her room. The hall was crowded and loud. Humans talked and laughed while they ate. The noise was overwhelming. Yura took her tray and looked for an empty corner. Before she could find one, a woman waved at her. Princess, over here. It was Shin Unji, a crew member Yura had seen working in the cargo bay. She was small and energetic. With a bright smile, Yura hesitated, then walked to the table. Unji and two other crew members made space for her. First time eating with us, Unji said happily. What do you think of human food? Yura looked at her tray. The food was strange. Brown meat with some kind of sauce. Green vegetables. White rice. It is different. Try the kimchi, said another crew member, pointing to a small dish of red vegetables. It is spicy but delicious. Yura tried it. Her eyes went wide. The taste was strong and sharp, unlike anything she had eaten before. But it was good. Very good. You like it? Unji asked eagerly. Yes, Yura admitted. It has fire in it. The crew members laughed, and for the first time, Yura understood that the laughter was not mocking her. They were laughing with her, including her. After the meal, Yura helped carry trays back to the kitchen. She saw Yunji struggling with a heavy container of supplies. Without thinking, Yura moved to help. Together, they lifted the container easily. "Thank you, Princess," Unji said, breathing hard. "That was very kind." Kind. Yura turned the word over in her mind. No one had ever called her kind before. Weak. Yes. Useless. Certainly. Never kind. "You are welcome," she said quietly. That night, Yura could not sleep. She stood at her window, watching the stars pass by. Her thoughts were troubled. All her life, she had been taught that strength was everything. The strong ruled, the weak served. Those who could not contribute were cast aside. She had accepted this as truth because she had never known anything different. But these humans did not follow those rules. They helped each other without asking for reward. They shared their food, their space, their time. They treated her with respect, even though she had done nothing to earn it. Were they foolish? Were they pretending? Or was there something about humanity that Yura did not understand? The door chimed softly. Yura turned to see Commander Kang Do-hyun standing in the doorway. "May I come in?" he asked. She nodded. Do-hyun walked to the window and stood beside her, looking at the stars. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "You have been watching my crew," he said finally. "What do you think of them?" "How?" Yura considered her words carefully. "They are strange. They work hard even when no one is watching. They help each other, even when it costs them. They welcomed me even though I have given them nothing. And this confuses you?" "Yes." She looked at him. "On Valari ships, everything is about power. Who has it? Who does not? Everyone watches for weakness in others, so they can climb higher. No one helps without expecting something in return." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "Humans can be selfish too. We have wars and cruelty in our history. But we have also learned that cooperation makes us stronger. One human alone is weak, but humans together can do amazing things." "Your people should have rejected me," Yura said. "The Valari sent me as an insult. They wanted you to feel small. Why did you not send me back?" Do-hyun turned to face her fully. In the starlight, his eyes were serious but gentle. "Because I saw you standing in that chamber, and I recognized something. You have been hurt by your own people. Rejected. Told you are worthless. But you were still standing. Still proud. That takes strength, Princess. More strength than your family understands." Yura's eyes stung. She blinked rapidly, refusing to let tears fall. "You do not know me." "Not yet," Do-hyun agreed. "But I would like to. If you will let me." He left her alone with her thoughts. Yura stayed at the window until the ship's lights dimmed for night cycle. For the first time in years, she did not feel completely alone. And for the first time ever, she wondered if being different was not the same as being broken. Maybe, she thought, these humans could teach her something the Valari never could. Maybe they could teach her what it meant to belong. 3 weeks had passed since Yura joined the Horizon's Edge. She had settled into a quiet routine. Morning tea with Jiwoo. Afternoon walks through the ship. Evening meals in the mess hall, where she now sat with the crew without being invited. The humans had accepted her presence, as if she had always been there. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. The alarm shattered everything. Red lights flashed through the corridors. A sharp sound repeated again and again. Yura stumbled out of her quarters, not knowing what was happening. Crew members rushed past her, moving with purpose. No panic. No chaos. Everyone seemed to know exactly where to go and what to do. Unji grabbed her arm as she ran by. "Come with me." Bridge. They ran together through the ship. Yura's heart pounded. She had never been in an emergency before. On Valari vessels, she was always kept away from anything important. The bridge was small but efficient. Screens covered the walls, showing data and images from outside the ship. Commander Do-hyun stood at the center, giving orders in a calm voice. "Report," he said as Yura entered. "Distress signal, sir." The officer at the communication station pulled up a recording. A voice filled the bridge, broken and desperate. "This is Colonial Transport Bright Star. We are under attack. Keth Raiders. Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. 57 passengers, mostly families. Please, anyone who can hear this. We need help." The message cut off with static. Yura felt cold. Keth Raiders were known throughout the galaxy. Insect-like creatures with no mercy and no conscience. They attacked weak targets, took everything of value, and left no survivors. "Location?" Do-hyun asked. 2 hours away at maximum speed, sir. "Navigation, set course. Maximum speed." Yura stared at him. "You are going to help them?" "Of course. But the Keth..." She struggled to find words. "The Keth are dangerous. They will have superior numbers. They always do. And this ship is not a warship. You will be outgunned." Do-hyun looked at her. His face was serious, but not afraid. "Princess, those are families out there. Children. We cannot leave them to die. But strategically, there is no strategy when innocent people are screaming for help." He turned back to the screens. "All hands, prepare for combat. Marines, suit up. Medical team, ready for casualties." Yura watched the crew move. No one questioned the order. No one calculated the odds and suggested retreat. They simply prepared to fight. She did not understand. On a Valari ship, commanders measured acceptable losses. They weighed the value of potential gains against probable costs. If the math did not work, they did not engage. It was logical. It was efficient. But these humans were not thinking about math. They were thinking about the people dying on that transport ship. The 2 hours passed quickly. Yura stayed on the bridge, watching the screens. She saw the Bright Star appear on sensors. It was a civilian ship, built for comfort, not combat. Smoke poured from wounds in its hull. 3 Keth vessels circled it like predators around wounded prey. "Keth ships are hailing us," the communications officer said. "They say we should leave. This is their hunt. Tell them we respectfully decline," Do-hyun replied. The battle began. The Horizon's Edge was not a warship, but it had teeth. Laser cannons fired, striking the nearest Keth vessel. The raiders screamed their anger over all frequencies and turned to attack. Yura gripped the railing as the ship shook. Lights flickered. Somewhere, metal groaned under stress. She saw crew members working frantically at their stations, fighting to keep the ship alive. "Boarding party ready," came a voice over the communicator. "Go," Do-hyun ordered. On the screens, Yura watched a small shuttle launch from the Horizon's Edge and race toward the Bright Star. It slipped past the fighting ships and attached to the damaged transport. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "we cannot hold all 3 Keth ships. They are too fast. We do not need to hold them. We just need to buy time." Do-hyun's hands flew across his console. "Divert power from non-essential systems. Everything to shields and weapons. 3 to 7. We want to the Do-hyuns. Also be a view." The battle continued. The Horizon's Edge danced between enemy fire, taking hits but refusing to fall. Yura could see the damage mounting on the status displays. They could not survive much longer. Then the shuttle reported, "Sir, we have 17 survivors. Returning now." 17 out of 57. The shuttle launched from the Bright Star just as the transport's reactor failed. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. The Keth ships pulled back, confused by the sudden brightness. "Now," Do-hyun said. "Full retreat. Get us out of here." The Horizon's Edge ran. 1 hour later, they were safe. The Keth had not followed. Yura walked through the ship in a daze, seeing the damage. Burned walls, broken equipment, injured crew members being carried to medical. She found herself outside the cargo bay, where the survivors had been brought. Families huddled together under blankets. Children cried. A woman held a baby close to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Jiwoo moved among them, treating wounds and offering comfort. She saw Yura and came over. "Princess, are you hurt?" Yura shook her head. "You saved them. We saved some of them." Jiwoo's eyes were tired and sad. "Not enough. On a Valari ship, we would not have tried. The risk was too high. The math was wrong." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Humans are not very good at math when lives are involved." Yura looked at the survivors again. The woman with the baby had stopped crying. She was looking at Jiwoo with something like worship in her eyes. "Is this why you fight?" Yura asked. "Not for territory or power? For this?" "Yes," Jiwoo smiled softly. "For this." Later that night, Yura found Do-hyun on the observation deck. He stood alone, staring at the stars. He looked exhausted. "Commander," she said. He turned. "Princess, you should rest. I cannot sleep." She walked closer. "I have been thinking about what happened today. I have never seen anything like it." "R. The battle? No. The choice." She struggled to explain. "You risked everything. Your ship. Your crew. Yourself. For strangers. People you had never met. Why?" Do-hyun considered the question. "Because they needed help. Because we could help. That is enough. But it is not logical." "No," he agreed. "It is not. But some things are more important than logic." He looked at her carefully. "You helped today. You stayed on the bridge when you could have hidden. You watched and learned. That took courage." Yura shook her head. "I did nothing. I stood there while your people fought and bled. You were brave enough to witness. That matters." He paused. "You know, you do not have to be a warrior to be strong. Sometimes the strongest thing is simply refusing to look away." Yura thought about his words. She remembered the woman with the baby, the children crying, the crew members risking everything for people they did not know. "My people would call today a failure," she said quietly. "We lost the transport. We lost 40 lives. We damaged our ship. And what do you call it?" She looked at the stars. "Somewhere out there, 17 people were alive because of what happened today. 17 people who would see their families again. 17 futures that still existed. I call it worthy," she said finally. "I call it something worth fighting for." Do-hyun smiled. It was the first real smile she had seen from him. "Then perhaps you understand humans better than you think, Princess." Yura did not smile back. But something had changed inside her. For the first time in her life, she wanted to be part of something. Not because she was forced. Not because she had no choice. Because it mattered. She looked at her hands. They had not fought today. They had not saved anyone. But they could. She knew that now. If she was brave enough to try, "Commander," she said, "I want to learn. Teach me to fight. Teach me to help. I do not want to only watch anymore." Do-hyun studied her face. Whatever he saw there seemed to satisfy him. "Report to Sergeant Oh Min-jae tomorrow morning," he said. "He trains our Marines. It will not be easy." "I do not want easy," Yura replied. "I want to be useful." For the first time since leaving her home, Princess Yura of the Third Moon felt like she had a purpose. He stood in the training room with his arms crossed, watching Yura with narrow eyes. He was a short man by human standards, but his body was thick with muscle. Scars marked his face and arms. He looked like someone who had seen 100 battles and won them all through pure stubbornness. "So," he said, "you are the princess who wants to fight." Yura stood straight. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I am tired of being useless." Min-jae's expression did not change. "Being useful means pain. It means falling down and getting up. It means failing again and again until you succeed. Are you ready for that?" "Yes. We will see." He pointed to the floor. 20 push-ups. "Now." Yura dropped to the floor and began. Her arms shook by the 10th one. By the 15th, they burned like fire. She collapsed at 17. Min-jae looked down at her. "Get up. Do it again." She did it again. And again. And again. The first week was torture. Yura's body screamed at her every morning. Muscles she did not know she had ached with every movement. She fell asleep the moment her head touched the pillow, and woke up feeling like she had not rested at all. But she did not quit. Minjae trained her alongside the human Marines. At first, they looked at her with curiosity. An alien princess, sweating and struggling just like them. But as days passed, their looks changed. They saw her get knocked down and stand up. They saw her fail and try again. Slowly, they began to respect her. "You are not bad," said a Marine named Baek Sungho after a sparring session. He had just thrown Yura to the mat for the 5th time. Most new people give up by now. Yura wiped blood from her lip. "Giving up is not an option." Sungho grinned. "I think I like you, princess." Human combat was different from Valari methods. The Valari relied on natural superiority. They were faster, stronger, and often had telepathic abilities that gave them an edge. They trained to enhance what they already had. Humans had no natural advantages, so they built them. Yura learned about combat suits that increased strength and speed. She studied tactical formations that allowed small groups to defeat larger forces. She discovered how humans use technology to overcome their physical limits. "We cannot outrun a Keth," Minjae explained during a lesson. "But we can predict where they will be. We cannot match their numbers, but we can create traps that even the odds. Every weakness has a solution if you think hard enough." It was a completely different way of looking at warfare. The Valari believed strength was something you were born with. Humans believed strength was something you could create. Between training sessions, Yura spent hours in the ship's library. She read about human history. It was a bloody story, full of wars and suffering. But it was also a story of survival. Humans had faced extinction many times, ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions. Every time, they found a way to continue. One evening, she found Jiwoo in the medical bay, organizing supplies. "Can I ask you something?" Yura said. "Of course. Humans live such short lives, 70 or 80 years. My people live for 300. How do you accomplish so much in so little time?" Jiwoo smiled and sat down, gesturing for Yura to join her. "I think that is exactly why we accomplish so much. We know our time is limited, so we do not waste it. We love fiercely. We work hard. We try to leave something behind that matters." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." Jiwoo laughed. "But it is also beautiful. Every day matters. Because there are not unlimited days." Yura thought about this. Valari lived long lives, but they moved slowly. They planned for centuries. Nothing was urgent. Perhaps that was why they had stopped growing, stopped changing. They had all the time in the universe, so they used none of it. Humans had almost no time, so they used every moment. Months passed. Yura grew stronger. She could complete Minjae's exercises now. She could spar with the Marines without being immediately defeated. She learned to fire human weapons and pilot small shuttles. But more importantly, she learned about herself. On Valari Prime, she had always believed the things her family said. She was weak, she was defective, she was a failure. Those words had been carved into her soul from childhood. Now, slowly, she was starting to question them. She was not the strongest fighter on the ship, but she was improving every day. She was not telepathic like other Valari, but she could read human expressions and body language in ways that surprised even herself. She was not tall and impressive, but her smaller size made her faster and harder to hit. Maybe, she thought, she had never been weak. Maybe she had just been different. And maybe different was not the same as broken. One day, Commander Do-hyun called her to his office. When she arrived, his face was serious. "We have received news from Valari Space," he said. "The Dominion of Ashk has attacked your empire's border colonies. The war has begun." Yura felt cold. "How bad?" "Very bad. The Dominion has superior numbers. Your father has recalled all Valari for military service. He paused. Including you. Her blood turned to ice. They want me back? Your brother, General Vorn, has sent a formal request. He says the Emperor commands your return. Yura's hands trembled. She remembered Vorn, her eldest brother. Tall, perfect, everything a Valari should be. He had never missed a chance to remind her of her failures. When she was sent to the humans, he had smiled, finally rid of the family's shame. Now he wanted her back. But not because he valued her. Because the Empire needed bodies for the front lines. Cannon fodder. Expendable soldiers to throw at the enemy. What will you do? She asked Do-hyun. That depends on you. He looked at her steadily. I will not force you to go. You are part of this crew now. But the decision must be yours. Yura closed her eyes. She thought about her father, who had never looked at her with love. Her mother, who had pretended she did not exist. Her brothers and sisters, who had mocked her from childhood. Then she thought about the horizon's edge. Minjae, who pushed her to be better. Jiwoo, who treated her wounds and listened to her problems. Taeho, who taught her about engines. Eunji, who always saved her a seat at meals. She thought about Do-hyun, who had bowed to her when no one else would. I need time, she said. Take all the time you need. That night, Yura walked through the ship. She visited the engine room where Taeho was working late. She stopped by medical, where Jiwoo was treating a minor injury. She passed the recreation room, where Marines were playing card games and laughing. Everyone smiled at her. Everyone greeted her by name. Not Princess, not Your Highness, just Yura. She had spent her whole life searching for a place where she belonged. She had looked in palaces and temples, in gardens and libraries. She had never found it. Now, on this small human ship, she had found it without even looking. She stood at the observation window and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, her old life was waiting to take her back, to use her, to break her, to throw her away. But she was not the same frightened princess who had left Valari Prime. She had changed. She had grown. She had learned that strength was not about being born perfect. Strength was about standing up when you fell down. Strength was about trying when everyone told you to quit. Strength was about choosing your own path, even when it was hard. Yura made her decision. She would not go back. Not to that life. Not to those people who had never seen her true value. She would stay with the humans. She would fight beside them. And she would show the universe that Princess Yura of the Third Moon was not weak. She never had been. One moment, the horizon's edge was traveling through empty space. The next, sensors screamed as a massive vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of them. All stop, Do-hyun commanded. Shields up. The warship was enormous. It dwarfed the human vessel like an eagle beside a sparrow. Its hull was silver and black, covered with weapons that could tear through any defense. The symbol of the Valari Empire blazed on its side. We are being hailed, the communications officer reported. On screen, the main display flickered, and General Vorn appeared. Yura's blood went cold. Her eldest brother looked exactly as she remembered. Tall and terrible. His silver skin gleamed under harsh lighting. His black eyes held nothing but contempt. The medals on his chest showed his many victories. Human vessel, Vorn said, his voice dripping with disgust. You carry property of the Valari Empire. I am here to collect it. Do-hyun stood straight. General Vorn, Princess Yura is a valued member of this crew. She is not property. Vorn laughed. It was an ugly sound. Princess? That creature is no princess. She is a mistake. A defect that our father was too soft to destroy at birth. But even mistakes have uses in wartime. Yura stepped forward until she was visible on the screen. Vorn's expression twisted when he saw her. Little sister, he said. You look different. Have the humans been feeding you well? Fattening you up before the slaughter? I am not going back, Vorn. Silence. Then Vorn leaned closer to the screen. What did you say? Silence. I am not going back. Yura kept her voice steady, even though her heart pounded. I have found a place where I belong. I will not leave it. You belong to the Empire. You belong to Father. Your wants are irrelevant. Then come and take me." The words came out before she could stop them. "If you can." Vorn's face flushed dark with anger. "You dare? You worthless, pathetic waste? I will reduce that ship to atoms and drag your broken body back to face Father's judgment." Do-hyun stepped beside Yura. "General, I recommend you reconsider. Any attack on this vessel is an attack on Earth. We have a treaty with your empire. Breaking it will have consequences." "Consequences?" Vorn laughed again. "What can humans do to us? You are insects. You are nothing. The only reason we signed your treaty was for entertainment." He paused, enjoying himself. "Did you really think we respected you? We sent you our garbage princess as a joke, and you actually kept her." The entire empire laughed when they heard. Yura felt the words cut deep. But she also noticed something. The human crew members around her were not looking at her with pity or disappointment. They were looking at Vorn with anger. He had insulted one of their own. "I will give you one chance," Vorn continued. "Surrender the defect, and we will let your ship go. Refuse, and you all die." Do-hyun looked at Yura. His eyes asked a silent question. She answered it. "I am not leaving." Do-hyun nodded and turned back to the screen. "You have your answer, General. Princess Yura is under our protection. If you want her, you will have to go through us." Vorn's expression hardened. "So be it." The screen went dark. "Battle stations," Do-hyun said calmly. "All hands prepare for combat." The crew moved with trained precision. Yura felt useless again, standing on the bridge while everyone else had jobs to do. Then Do-hyun turned to her. "Princess, you know Valari ships. What are their weaknesses?" She blinked. "What?" "Weaknesses, vulnerabilities, anything that could help us survive this." Yura's mind raced. She had never fought against her own people. She had never even considered it. But these were not her people anymore. Her people were here, on this ship, preparing to die for her. "Their shields are strongest at the front," she said quickly. "They expect enemies to face them directly. The sides and rear are weaker. Their weapons have a brief cooling period after each major shot. If you can count the rhythm, you can move during the gaps." Do-hyun relayed the information to his tactical officer. "What else?" Do-hyun relayed the information. Do-hyun relayed the information. "The main power conduit runs along the ship's spine. If you can hit it precisely, the entire vessel will lose power for several seconds. But it is heavily armored. You would need multiple direct hits in the exact same location." Navigation. Plot evasive patterns focusing on the enemy's flanks. Weapons. Target that power conduit. Wait for my signal. The Valari warship opened fire. The horizon's edge shook as shields absorbed the first blast. Yura grabbed a railing to stay upright. On the screens, she watched the human ship dance and weave, following her advice. It was smaller and more agile than the warship. It could not win a direct fight, but it could survive. "For a while, they are herding us toward their secondary weapons," Yura warned. "Break left. Now." The ship lurched. A blast missed them by meters. Vorn's voice crackled over the communication system. "Running will not save you. Little sister. I have hunted prey across 3 galaxies. You cannot escape me." "Who said anything about escaping?" Do-hyun replied. "Fire." The horizon's edge launched everything it had at the warship's power conduit. Missiles screamed through space. Laser cannons burned. The Valari shields flickered under the assault. It was not enough. Direct hit, but shields held. The tactical officer reported. "We do not have enough firepower." Yura watched the battle unfold on the screens. She saw the mathematics of it clearly. The horizon's edge could not win. Eventually, Vorn would corner them. Eventually, their shields would fail. Eventually, everyone on this ship would die. Because of her. "Stop," she whispered. No one heard her. "Stop!" she shouted. Do-hyun turned. Princess? Princess? This is pointless. He is right. You cannot defeat a Valari warship with this vessel. If you continue fighting, you will all die. We will not surrender you. I know. Tears stung her eyes. That is why I have to surrender myself. The bridge went silent. Even the crew members stopped what they were doing to stare at her. Princess, Do-hyun said carefully, if you go back, they will kill you. Maybe. Probably. She took a shaking breath. But if I stay, everyone here dies. Jiwoo, Taeho, Unji, Minjae, you. She looked at him directly. I cannot let that happen. You showed me what it means to have a family. I will not let my family die for me. Yura. It was the first time he had used her name without her title. There has to be another way. There is not. I have studied battle tactics for months. I know the numbers. She straightened her shoulders, trying to be brave. Tell the crew I am grateful for everything they taught me. Tell them I was proud to serve beside them. She turned toward the door. Wait. She stopped. Do-hyun walked toward her. His face was unreadable. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. You once asked me why we helped strangers on that transport ship. I told you it was because they needed help. And we could help. Do you remember? Yes. What I did not tell you is that we help each other too. You are not a stranger anymore, Princess. You are crew. You are family. He put his hand on her shoulder. And we do not abandon family. But the mathematics, humans are not good at mathematics when family is involved. He smiled slightly. Let me show you something. He led her to the tactical station. On the screen, she saw something that made her heart stop. Ships, human ships, dozens of them, emerging from behind a nearby asteroid field. This is Admiral Choi of Earth Defense Fleet 7. A voice announced over the communication channel. Horizon's Edge. It looks like you could use some help. Yura stared at the screen in disbelief. How? I called for backup when I first saw the Valari ship, Do-hyun admitted. I knew we could not win alone. But I also knew we were not alone. The human fleet spread out, surrounding the Valari warship. Vorn's vessel was powerful, but not powerful enough to fight this many ships at once. General Vorn, Admiral Choi broadcast. You are outgunned. We suggest you leave. Now. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, Vorn's face appeared on screen one last time. His expression was murderous. This is not over, sister, he hissed. Father will hear of your betrayal. You are no longer Valari. You are nothing. You are wrong. Yura said calmly. I am not nothing. I am crew of the Horizon's Edge. I am an ally of humanity. And I am stronger than you ever thought possible. Vorn's ship turned and fled into the darkness. Yura watched it go. She expected to feel sad or afraid. Instead, she felt free. She was no longer a Valari princess. She was no longer her father's disappointment. She was exactly who she chose to be, and she had chosen well. A Valari princess had defected to humanity. She had faced her own brother, a decorated general, and refused to return to her people. She had stood beside the humans and chosen them over her empire. For some species, it was a scandal. The Valari Empire was humiliated. Their own royal blood had rejected them. Preferring the company of primitive humans, Emperor Talos issued a statement declaring Yura dead to the royal family. Her name was erased from official records. She no longer existed in Valari history. But for other species, the story meant something different. The galaxy was full of peoples who had suffered under Valari arrogance. Smaller civilizations had been conquered, exploited, or simply ignored by the ancient empire. They had learned to fear the silver-skinned masters of 3 galaxies. Now they saw a Valari princess standing beside humans, choosing kindness over cruelty, choosing new family over old blood. If she could change, perhaps others could too. Perhaps the old orders were not permanent. Perhaps there was hope. The messages began arriving within days. First came the Thari, a species of small, fur-covered beings who had been servants of the Valari for centuries. Their representative spoke carefully, checking constantly to make sure no one was listening. "We saw what the princess did," he said to Commander Do-hyun. "We have never seen a Valari choose honor over pride. It gives us courage. If humanity would have us, we would be your friends." Then came the Miron, tall amphibians from a water world conquered by the Valari 300 years ago. They had been waiting for liberation ever since. "The humans fight for those who cannot fight for themselves," their leader said. "We have seen this with our own eyes. We wish to fight beside you." More followed. The Kasari, the Belk, the countless small peoples who had been crushed beneath the Valari boot. They came to the horizon's edge, seeking alliance, seeking hope. Yura found herself at the center of it all. She had not expected this. She had made her choice for personal reasons, to protect the humans who had become her family. But her choice had become something larger. She had become a symbol. "They look at you and see possibility," Do-hyun explained one evening. "You were born into privilege and power. You could have stayed safe. But you chose to stand for something better. That inspires people." "I do not know how to be a symbol," Yura admitted. "No one does. You just have to keep being yourself." Earth's government recognized the opportunity. They promoted Do-hyun to admiral and gave him command of a small fleet. His mission was to build alliances and prepare for the growing threat of the Dominion of Ashk. Yura became his strategic advisor. She knew things about galactic politics that no human could. She understood the relationships between species, the old grudges and secret alliances. She could predict how the Valari would react to different situations. Together, they traveled to a dozen worlds. They met with leaders, answered questions, and slowly built a coalition of the willing. Not all species joined. Many were too afraid of Valari revenge, but enough said yes. 6 months after her confrontation with Vorn, Yura stood on the bridge of the new flagship, Unity's Hope, watching a fleet of 30 ships from 12 species move into formation around them. "It is beautiful," Jiwoo said beside her. "I never thought I would see anything like this." "Neither did I." Yura watched a Thari scout ship pass gracefully above them. "1 year ago, I was hiding in my room on Valari Prime, wishing I could disappear. Now I am helping build something new. Do you miss your home?" Yura thought about it. "I miss the gardens, the smell of flowers in the morning. But I do not miss the people. I do not miss feeling worthless every day." She turned to Jiwoo. "This is my home now." I turned. The war with the Dominion of Ashk continued to spread. The insect-like conquerors pushed deeper into Valari territory, taking world after world. The Empire, proud and inflexible, refused to change their tactics. They kept sending their warriors to fight alone, trusting in individual superiority. And they kept losing. Eventually, an envoy arrived from Valari Prime. Yura was in the strategy room when the message came. She recognized the speaker immediately. High Counselor Tarn, the same official who had given her to the humans as a joke. His silver face looked older now, tired and worried. "Admiral Kang," Tarn said formally. "The Emperor requests a meeting. The Dominion threatens not only our empire, but all civilized space. We must put aside past differences and work together." Do-hyun glanced at Yura. She nodded slightly. "We will hear the Emperor's proposal," Do-hyun replied. "But we have conditions." "Name them." "First, any alliance must be between equals. Humanity will not serve the Empire. We work together, or not at all." Tarn's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Acceptable." "Second, our coalition partners must be included. The Thari, the Myron, all who have joined us. They are not servants. They are allies. That is, unusual, but acceptable." "Third." Do-hyun paused. "Princess Yura must be recognized as a legitimate representative of the alliance. She will have full diplomatic status. No attempts to capture or harm her." For a moment, Tarn's mask slipped, Yura could see his disgust clearly. She, the defective princess, was now being treated as equal to Valari nobility. The Emperor will not like this, Tarn said slowly. Then the Emperor can fight the Dominion alone. Do-hyun's voice was steel. Those are our terms. Tarn was silent for a long time. Then he sighed. I will convey your conditions. Expect a response within 3 days. The screen went dark. Yura let out a breath she did not know she was holding. They will accept. They have no choice. Are you ready for this? Do-hyun asked. You will have to face your father, your brothers, everyone who hurt you. Yes. She stood straighter. I am not the frightened child they sent away. I am stronger now. And I have something they never gave me. What is that? She smiled. People who believe in me. The Emperor's response came 2 days later. He accepted all conditions. A summit was arranged on a neutral space station. Representatives from humanity, the Coalition, and the Valari Empire would meet to plan their defense against the Dominion. On the morning of the summit, Yura stood before a mirror in her quarters. She wore a uniform that combined human and Valari elements. Blue and silver. Practical, but elegant. On her chest, she wore the symbol of her new fleet, a circle of hands from different species, joined together. There was a knock at her door. She opened it to find Do-hyun standing there in his formal admiral's uniform. Are you ready? He asked. Yes. She took a deep breath. I have waited my whole life for this moment. To stand before my father as something more than a disappointment. To show them what I have become. You have nothing to prove to them. I know, she smiled, but I want to prove it anyway. They walked together toward the shuttle bay, where the rest of the delegation waited. Ji-woo, Taeho, Min-jae, Eunji. The people who had taught her what family really meant. As Yura boarded the shuttle, she looked back at the fleet hanging in space. 30 ships from 12 species. All working together. All trusting each other. 1 year ago, she had been nothing. Today, she was helping to change the galaxy, and this was only the beginning. Yura watched the battle from the bridge of Unity's hope. Around her, officers shouted reports and orders. Screens showed chaos in every direction. Ships firing, ships dying, the largest battle in galactic history unfolding before her eyes. The Dominion of Ashk had committed everything to this attack. Hundreds of black warships, each carrying thousands of insect warriors. They had pushed through Valari defenses for months, conquering world after world. Now they were making their final move. If they won here, nothing would stop them from reaching the heart of civilized space. But for the first time, they faced a united enemy. Admiral Kang Do-hyun stood at the center of the bridge, coordinating the combined fleet. Human ships flew beside Valari cruisers. Thari scouts danced around Miron battleships. Species that had been enemies for centuries now fought as one. Sector 7 is collapsing, a tactical officer reported. Valari flagship requesting support. Yura checked the displays. The Valari flagship was her father's ship. Emperor Talos himself was in danger. Send the third wing to support them, Do-hyun ordered. Then he looked at Yura. The Dominion command ship is in the nebula's core. If we destroy it, their fleet will lose coordination. I know. Yura had studied Dominion tactics for months. Their hive mind structure made them powerful but also vulnerable. Kill the queens, and the soldiers became confused. The problem is getting past their defenses. That ship is surrounded by the entire Dominion Guard. We have a plan, Do-hyun said, but I need you to lead the strike team. Yura's heart stopped. Me? You know their weaknesses better than anyone. You have trained for this. And, he hesitated. The team volunteered specifically to follow you. 2-1, she looked around the bridge. Ji-woo stood ready in tactical gear. Her medical kit on her back. Taeho checked a scanning device. Min-jae cracked his knuckles, looking eager for a fight. Behind them, a squad of Marines from 3 different species waited for orders. We trust you, Princess, Min-jae said. Lead us. Yura felt tears threatening to form. She pushed them back. There would be time for emotion later. Now she needed to be strong. Show me the mission parameters, she said. The plan was dangerous but possible. A small strike team would use the nebula's interference to approach the command ship undetected. They would board through a maintenance hatch, fight their way to the engine core, and plant charges. The explosion would destroy the ship and throw the entire Dominion fleet into chaos. The Dominion guards are brutal, Yura warned her team as they prepared in the shuttle bay. They feel no pain and no fear. They will not stop until they are dead. Neither will we, Sungho replied, checking his weapon. The shuttle launched into the burning chaos of battle. Yura piloted, weaving between debris and weapons fire. The nebula's gases flashed with every explosion. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Enemy patrol ahead, Tejo reported from his scanner. Yura adjusted course, sliding into a dense cloud of gas. The shuttle shook as particles hit the hull, but they remained hidden. The patrol passed without seeing them. They continued deeper into the nebula. The command ship grew larger on the screens. It was massive, larger than any vessel Yura had ever seen. Black and angular, covered with weapons and armor, the heart of the Dominion swarm. There, Yura pointed to a small opening in the ship's hull. Maintenance access. We go in there. The shuttle attached with a soft sound. Minjae led the way, cutting through the hatch with a plasma torch. One by one, the team entered the enemy ship. Inside, the air was thick and hot. The walls were covered with organic material, pulsing slightly as if the ship was alive. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors. Clicking, buzzing, the communication of creatures that were not quite animal and not quite machine. Move quickly, Yura whispered. The engine core is 200 meters ahead. They encountered the first guards within minutes. Dominion warriors were terrifying up close. Tall, covered in black armor that was part of their bodies. Multiple arms ending in sharp blades, eyes that saw everything. Minjae's team engaged them without hesitation. Human weapons combined with Valari tactics and Thari speed. The guards fell, but not before wounding 2 Marines. Leave them, Minjae ordered. They will slow us down. No, Jiwoo was already treating the injured. We do not leave anyone behind. They split up. Half the team stayed with the wounded while the rest pushed forward. Yura led them, using her knowledge of Valari ship designs to guess the Dominion layout. It was similar enough. More guards, more fighting. They lost another Marine, then another. Finally, they reached the engine core. It was a vast chamber filled with pulsing energy. At the center, a queen floated in a cocoon of light. She was different from the warriors. Larger, more intelligent, her compound eyes focused on Yura with something like recognition. Little Valari, the queen said. Her voice was like 1,000 whispers speaking at once. You have come far from home. Set the charges, Yura ordered her team. I will keep her busy. The queen laughed. You think you can stop us? We are endless. We are inevitable. Your alliance is weak. When you are gone, we will consume your worlds one by one. Maybe, Yura raised her weapon. But not today. She fired. The queen was fast, but Yura was faster. Months of training had prepared her for this moment. She dodged the queen's attacks, rolling and shooting, drawing the creature's attention away from her team. Charges set, Tejo shouted. Go, Yura commanded. Everyone out. The team ran. Yura followed, firing behind her to keep the queen back. They reached the shuttle just as the first charge exploded. The ride out of the command ship was chaos. Fire and debris filled the corridors. The shuttle's engines screamed as Yura pushed them to their limit. Behind them, the great ship began to break apart. They burst out into open space just as the engine core detonated. The explosion was blinding. The command ship disintegrated, taking its queen and thousands of warriors with it. Across the battlefield, Dominion ships began to falter. Their coordination failed. Their formations broke. All ships, this is Admiral Kang. Do-hyun's voice came over the communication system. The enemy command ship is destroyed. Press the attack. Drive them out. The combined fleet surged forward. Human determination. Valari power. Coalition courage. Working together as one force. The Dominion fled. Hours later, the battle was over. The nebula was filled with wreckage. But the surviving ships were cheering. Beings from a dozen species celebrated together. They had faced extinction, and won. Yura stood on the observation deck of Unity's Hope, watching the celebration below. She was exhausted. Her body ached from the mission. But her heart was full. The door opened. Do-hyun walked in, looking as tired as she felt. "The Emperor wants to speak with you," he said. Yura tensed. She had not seen her father since leaving Valari Prime over a year ago. She did not know if she was ready, but she went anyway. Emperor Talos appeared on the screen. He looked old. The war had aged him. His silver skin had lost its shine. His black eyes were tired. "Daughter," he said. "Father." A long silence. Then, slowly, the Emperor bowed his head. "You were always stronger than we knew," he said. "We looked for strength in size and power. We did not see it in courage and heart. Perhaps," he struggled with the words, "perhaps we were the weak ones." Yura did not know how to respond. She had imagined this moment many times. She had expected to feel triumph or anger. Instead, she felt sad. "I do not forgive you," she said finally. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. You hurt me in ways that will never fully heal. I know, but I will not let the past destroy the future. We have built something new here. An alliance of equals, a family that chooses each other." She stood straighter. "That matters more than old wounds." The Emperor nodded slowly. "You have become what I never could have imagined." "I am." He paused. "I am proud of you. I should have said that long ago." After the call ended, Yura stood alone for a long time. She was not sure how to feel. Proud. Sad. Relieved. Perhaps all three. Do-hyun found her still standing there. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I think so." She turned to face him. "It is strange. I spent so many years wanting him to be proud of me. Now that he is, I realize his opinion does not matter as much as I thought." "Whose opinion matters?" She smiled. "Yours, Jiwoo's, the crew's, the people who saw my worth before I did." She took his hand. "You saved me. You know. Not from the Valari or the Dominion, from myself. From believing I was worthless." "I did not save you," Do-hyun replied. "You saved yourself. I just gave you the chance." They walked together to the main viewport. Outside, the combined fleet hung in space. Ships from every species, flying side by side. A new alliance born from war. "They sent you to me as an insult," Do-hyun said quietly, "and you turned me into an ally." Yura answered. "No." He squeezed her hand. "You were always this strong. You just needed someone to see it." Yura leaned against him, watching the stars. She thought about everything that had happened. The pain of her childhood, the kindness of the humans, the battles and the losses, the victories and the hope. She was not the frightened princess who had left Valari Prime. She was not her father's disappointment. She was not the insult the Valari had intended. She was Yura, warrior, strategist, friend, family. She was exactly who she chose to be, and together with the humans who had given her a home, she would face whatever came next. The stars waited, adventure waited, the future waited, and for the first time in her life, Yura was ready for it.